You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K25. It's myself, Mo Mooncey, alongside me this week, the 24-year NBA executive, 1 year Hoop Genius podcast expert, Mr. Scott Perry. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great this morning, Mo. You know, when I hear that, the vibes, that gets me up, ready, and ready to talk some basketball, man. It's like when I was growing up, you'd hear, you turn on the radio and your favorite DJ would have a welcome in the morning. So that's my new DJ welcome in the morning. When you say,
DJ.
the vibes,
Come on,
exactly.
man. Come on. One day I'll get a radio show and I'll put the the vibes on there as well, man. I would
Yeah.
love to do that. Congratulations, Scott. Correctly predicting Florida to be the NCAA National Championships winners of 2025. What a game that was last night. For a long stretch there, it looked like Houston was going to take it. But Florida got
Yes.
themselves back into the game. And then a horrendous final possession from Houston left
Yeah.
the Florida Gators as winners. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you hated the way that ended, but first of all, let me congratulate the Florida Gators, man. What a run for them the entire season, and especially this tournament. I thought in the game yesterday, they turned the tables a little bit in the second half on the Houston Cougars. You know, Houston's defense is tremendous. It's tough. All those guys play extremely hard. That's what put them in that situation to begin with. But Florida really ramped up their defense and made it tough. You know, when they got down 12, they started making things tougher on the Houston Cougars in terms of being able to score the basketball. And those final possessions down the stretch were the difference. And that Florida was scrappy. They were equally as tough. And they made just enough offensive plays to leave out of there with the championship victory.
Mhm.
So, no, I thought the Final Four, Mo, to be honest with you, this year was an excellent Final Four. All these games were close to tight. It could have gone either way. If you played this Final Four again, it'd probably be a different outcome.
Yeah, that's the beauty of
It
one
was
and
that
done.
close.
That's the
Exactly.
beauty of just
Exactly.
one-off games rather than 7 game series. So
Yes.
let,
Yes.
let me ask you this though. Watching the game last night, how many future NBA players did you see on the court?
Well, that's a good question. For a number of those guys, it'll be just being in the right place, right time. But I would say that I would expect to see maybe 4 to 5 guys
Mhm.
on the NBA roster.
I wanted to talk about one of
For
them
so what?
in particular, for
Mm-hmm.
Florida, Walter Clayton Jr., who had
Mm-hmm.
a real
Mm-hmm.
tough start to the game, but a
Mm-hmm.
big time player because he figured it out in the second half of the second half, if that makes sense, the final 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He's not a crazy athlete. He's only 6'2". He's 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying, okay, cool, he might be a second round pick. But watching him play, there's no
Mm-hmm.
way anyone can tell me that he couldn't do something in the league. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
anticipate this guy to be drafted? Because to me, he's kind of like a Peyton Pritchard type player, just a little bit taller than Peyton Pritchard.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the run that he went on in this tournament, to at least for me, and again, I wasn't out scouting every single collegiate game like a lot of the NBA scouts have done, but from what I've seen, I believe this guy's a first round pick. Just in watching him come through in the clutch time after time, he can do the one thing that everybody loves in today's game, and that's shoot. He shoots the basketball very well, and he makes big clutch shots. He's an excellent free throw shooter. So, yesterday, he made a couple of really nice passes as well too. So showed me, ability to be able to play that point position. And I know we live in a time now where, and it's unfortunate, where guys get knocked because of age, because he's been
Hmm.
in school for 4 years. He's 22 years old. Oh, he's too old. We'd rather take somebody 18. But see, I look at a player like him and I see a guy that can contribute next season to a team because he has experience, because he's stronger, and he's come through in clutch moments. So for him, hopefully he'll get a chance to get to a situation where there is a need at that position where he can to get some minutes. But watching him throughout this tournament, I became more and more impressed, and I saw an NBA player that I believe will be drafted in the first round somewhere this year.
Yeah, I think mid first round isn't a crazy expectation.
Hmm.
I don't know if you'll be in the lottery, but today we're talking about the Eastern Conference, where we have a lot of teams vying for a top spot in that lottery. You got the Wizards, the Hornets, the Sixers, the Nets, and the Raptors,
Hmm.
all vying for a place in that NBA draft lottery. But let's talk about the teams who are actually going to be part of the postseason moving forwards, right?
Hmm.
Let's start
Hmm.
with the play in. You've got the Magic, you've got the Hawks, you've got the Bulls, and you've got the Heat in 7 through 10.
Hmm.
Magic at 7 are 4.5 games behind the Pistons. I don't think they're going to catch up and get that sixth seed,
No,
right? So the
no.
Magic, after such a great start to the season, and Paolo started the season so strong, they ended up with injuries to Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, and Paolo, and a bunch of the other guys on their roster. Injuries really deteriorated them. The Hawks
Hmm.
came into the season with a new look, moving on from the DeJounte Murray and Trae Young experiment, moving DeJounte Murray off. They then received
Hmm.
potential Defensive Player of the Year, Dyson Daniels. They've
Hmm.
looked real strong in stretches. However, they are a below 500 basketball club. You've got the
Hmm.
Chicago Bulls who made midseason moves. You've got the Miami Heat who made midseason moves. Which two of those four teams are you expecting to come out of the play-in?
Well, I definitely am expecting the Orlando Magic to come out. They are starting to play better toward the last couple weeks of this season. To your point, they've experienced a lot of ups and downs this year, a lot due to injuries to their best two players, Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. They also have been missing Jalen Suggs, who I think is a very important part to
Mm,
that team in terms of the energy, leadership, and point of attack defense that he provides for that team. I think he's a real spiritual leader for that group. But I've always been a believer. I think we talked about this yesterday. Like to see how teams are playing down the stretch. So I'm going to favor uh, the Magic coming out because they'll get two cracks at it. I do think they'll win the first time out. They'll host
hmm
that initial playing game. And then to me, it's going to come down to the Hawks. And even though I know they went through a terrible losing streak here recently, but they're starting to win a few games. Our Miami Heat mode that we talk so
Yes, that's all
affectionately
you. That's
about
your Miami
the
Heat.
Heat crazy exactly.
Yeah, I'm a Celtics fan. The Heat are
Yeah,
my
yeah,
enemies.
exactly. So I'm going to say I think they win the first round, even though they'll be the road team. I like this team in
You,
that
you you like the
one
Heat
game
beating the
knockout.
Bulls?
I like the Heat beating the Bulls. I really
Okay,
do. And then I think I'm going to take the Heat to beat the
the
Atlanta Hawks as
Hawks.
well. So those are going to be my two teams to come out of the Eastern Conference,
Mm,
just because of the pedigree and experience, the toughness, the preparation that I believe Eric Spoelstra and that group will display in this venue. It's nothing against those other teams. I guess I'm torn between them and Atlanta, to be honest with you. But Atlanta's been up and
yeah.
down.
No love for the
Um,
Bulls. They've been playing well recently. They're 7-3 in
they
their
they
last 10. They've won their last
yes,
three. They picked up wins over the Lakers and the Nuggets, so they've beaten some good playoff teams.
they
Um,
have. They have.
they
I
lost by
just I
one to the Mavericks, so they could be 8-2 over the last 10.
Yes, no, I look, get anything can happen in a one game knockout, as we do know, and they're gonna have a home game that first time around.
Yeah.
But I'm just going I'm gonna rely on just recent history, I guess, if you will, in terms of performance in playoff type situations like this. And so I'm going to lean toward the Heat, but I won't be shocked if I'm proven wrong on that one. But for me, really, it's the Magic.
Mm.
Really roll the dice, and any of those other three could come out. But since you've
Yeah.
asked me to pick one, I'm going to pick the Heat.
I wouldn't be surprised at any of those four. But the question I have for you is those four teams, two of them are going to make it to the playoffs where they'll face either the Cavaliers or the Celtics. Do you see uh, any chance that any of those four teams will win a first round series?
Unfortunately, that's your reward for winning the play-in is getting to
Yeah.
face the two of the top three or four teams in the
Yep.
league. And so I don't see either of those groups beating either the Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland has just played too well this year. I think they've grown, taken a step forward. Evan Mobley, in particular, has lifted his game up. Donovan Mitchell has emerged more as a leader of this group too, which is great to see. So I don't see anybody upending
Yeah.
them of those four teams in the first round. As again, the defending champions, Celtics, I think they're on a mission to try to repeat and at least get back to the finals, giving themselves an opportunity to repeat.
We'll talk about them later in the show, but let's look at the middle of the pack, right? At 6, you've got the Pistons. A game and a half ahead of them, you've got the Milwaukee Bucks. Game and a half ahead of them, you've got the Pacers, who have really found something in the second half of the season. They're on a 4-game win streak, 8-2 over the last 10. And then ahead of them, you've got a 50 win in back-to-back years Knicks team. Looking at those kind of four teams, right? And I mentioned this kind of yesterday at the end of the show. The Pistons winning a first round series, if you've told anyone that last year, they would have thought you've gone insane. However, we're here now. As it stands, they'll be matched up with the Knicks. And there's a part of me that kind of likes that matchup for the Pistons, even though OG has been playing unbelievable basketball.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he's
Okay.
been playing awesome.
Jalen Brunson's getting back healthy now. They've added Karl-Anthony Towns to their roster. The Knicks obviously are the favorites to win that series. But if things were to stand as they currently stand, who do you have winning that series? Being a Detroit native, but a former Knicks executive. That's a tough spot to put you in.
No, it's obviously a tough spot to put me in. But Mo, I'm on the Hoop Genius podcast to give my objective analysis.
Unbiased.
Not subjective. Yeah, unbiased, exactly. So with that being said, as great of a year as the Pistons have had, and if I'm not mistaken, they went into the Garden twice this year, I believe, and beat these Pistons. But that's regular season basketball. As we know, the pressure is going to be ramped up that much more. I just like the experience on the New York Knicks side. And to your point, even though Jalen Brunson now is working himself back into a rhythm and shape, he'll be ready to go by the time the 19th rolls around. He has another, what's that, 11, 12 days before that time. And so he will be ready. That group will be ready. And if OG will continue to play like he is now when Jalen comes back, because his offensive volume and usage probably will drop. Probably will drop with Jalen coming back. But can he still maintain that pace that he's on the offensive end? We know he's going to show up defensively, but be that reliable third scorer that we talk about a lot when we dissect these teams. If he's that, now he makes the Knicks that much better going into the playoffs. I just like the experience. Even though I like the size in the Pistons backcourt, like a matchup, Jalen Brunson, it'll be hard for him to guard a Cade Cunningham, who's 6'7". Who does Jalen Brunson match up with on the Pistons? Probably their two guard, who's either going to be Beasley or Tim Hardaway, I would imagine. So, but I'm going to give the edge to the Knicks, just experience, and mainly because of the experience.
Yeah.
And the Pistons, the Pistons are going to be playing on house money a little bit. No one expected them to be in this position coming off of last season. So that makes them to be a dangerous team. I don't think the Pistons will be afraid of the moment.
I could see them stealing
I can see
game one.
I can see the series. This will not be a sweep series for sure. I can see this series going 6 games at least, because of again, the Pistons team is the young and athletic, and they
bring the physicality as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I know,
yes.
Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't know if he's going to like dealing with 48 minutes of Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart.
And Isaiah Stewart and those guys. No question about it. No, it's going to be. It's not going to be easy for the Knicks, but I'm going to favor the Knicks in that matchup if that's how it goes down.
Yeah, they still have Cade Cunningham making he's returned, but he's still getting back to full health, coming off the injury. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been solid for them, but also Malik Beasley off the bench has been one of the league's best 3-point shooters. I think
he's been,
in
Malik
terms
Beasley's
of minutes,
had an awesome year.
No one's shot the ball like him.
Yeah, this has been a career year for Malik Beasley. Because he has been as consistent as I've seen him during his entire NBA career with his ability to make shots. He's been dialed in, locked in. We talk about fit all the time. he is embraced being there in Detroit. And I think that's important, and Detroit has embraced him. So,
But what I'd really
but
be intrigued by is we saw how good Eamon Thompson was at guarding Stephen Curry the other day. The Pistons
yes,
have his twin brother, Osar Thompson, and
excellent.
that matchup of putting him on Jalen Brunson is something that intrigues me because Brunson's a smaller player. Osar and
Yes.
Eamon are two of the best athletes we've ever seen in the NBA. So
No, no question. Jalen will have his work cut out for him because that size and athleticism, he can stand for as long as he stays disciplined and doesn't buy a lot of the herky jerky fakes and lean ins that Jalen is capable of producing on a nightly basis and creating fouls and getting to the line and doing those things. If he can do that, now you're talking about the Pistons really having a chance in that series because I would expect to see Asar Thompson on Jalen Brunson a lot during that year. But then again, that's going to be the importance of OG Anunoby. Now, who matches up with him? Because if OG can keep going, we know Towns will score because Towns will be able to
stretch the
step
floor.
away from the basket. He's going to stretch away from the, so he's going to pull Dorn away. He's going to pull Isaiah Stewart away from the rim and be able to score that way. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a chess match and to
And
see who's the best at making adjustments during the
yeah,
series.
and with OG commanding more attention now, Mikal Bridges, the floor should open up for him as well, who's proven
Yes.
himself. He can score
Mm-hmm.
as well, like he did with Brooklyn. Do you think the Knicks have a chance at winning the Eastern Conference?
When you use the word chance, yes, they have a chance. Now, do I favor them to go as it stands right now? They would be matched up with the Celtics in the second round. If both teams are fully healthy, I'm going to favor the Boston Celtics. They've been there. I just think they play extremely well together, and they're better defensively than this Knicks team. The
Mm.
Knicks, as a group, last I heard, they were like the 17th ranked defensive
Defense, yeah, they're
team
middle of the pack.
yeah. So the Celtics are probably in the top 5 or 6 in that ranking. And so again, you know me, Mo. I'm going to always default to those groups that consistently defend because both teams are going to have capable scorers and can put points on the board. But when it gets down to crunch time and the shots are falling as well as you'd like them to fall, I'm going to lean towards that team that's more consistently on the defense, more consistent on the defensive end,
Mm.
and that being the Boston Celtics.
Well, the 4-5 matchup, if things stay how they are, is a matchup that screams NBA TV. But I think it would be a real good matchup because there is a rivalry between these two sides going back to last season's in-season tournament, the incident with Giannis wanting to keep the game ball, and so on and so forth. The Pacers and the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
How would you see a series between those two teams going? And do you think either of those two teams has a chance of winning the Eastern Conference? Because Dame won't be there for the Bucks. I believe he's out for the rest of the season.
So
And
is they officially ruled Dame
I
out
don't know if
now?
it's official,
Mm-hmm.
but he had
Yeah, the Bucks will obviously would need Dame, I
he
believe,
has blood
to.
clots, so he's out indefinitely, which
I
is a
knew
very
that. Yeah,
serious issue.
serious
So
thing. And
indefinite
but
means to me,
yeah, but when I watched the last game, I just heard a report that he was obviously doing well, responding well to the medication. Had not heard anything other than that. You just obviously hope he gets better first. That's first and
yeah.
foremost, more than this playoff series. But if he's not going to be available though to this team for them to go all the way through to the Eastern Conference to the finals, as big of a Giannis fan as I am, I just think that there's the roadblocks in front of them being they get past a good Indiana team. That's the first roadblock. That's not a given at all. You probably would slightly even favor Indiana in that series, just because of the health factor of the teams. But if they were somehow to get through that, now you're standing there looking at a Cleveland team that was the second best team in the regular season this year, and that would be a difficult undertaking for them. And then to get through that, and then probably be looking at the Celtics. I just don't see them having enough to do it this year. I'm not going to never totally count Giannis out, but I believe he needs a Dame Lillard in the lineup for them to have a fighting chance to run that gauntlet. So Indiana has a lot of confidence. Back to that opening series, they have a lot of confidence. I think
I think they
based
could
on
win
what they
that opening
accomplished last
series.
year. Oh yeah, absolutely. They can. They're deep, extremely well coached. Rick Carlisle will have that group very prepared, and they're not. They showed us last year they're not afraid of these big moments, and so they're going to carry some confidence with them that they can win and advance. Again, I know last year is last year, but still,
They were in the conference finals
guys
last
build
year.
on
You
that.
have to respect it,
Yes,
and you have to respect the way they've turned this season around to be the 4 seed right now,
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
they
because
started off horrifically, and in
yeah.
particular, Tyrese Haliburton really struggled to start this season.
You know what, Mo? What they learn to do a lot of times, what happens being a conference finalist, coming back the next year, it took them a while to adjust how teams viewed them and treated them. Because now you were a conference finalist, teams are going at you. That's a big game on their schedule. We're going to play the Pacers, and they probably, from where I sat and watched them, weren't ready for that all the way yet. And to start the season, and I think they had to kind of adjust to that, adapt to that. And once they did, now you've seen them go on a run and beat some very good basketball teams over the past couple of months. So I like the Indiana group. I
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. So then we're left with the two teams at the top, the Celtics and the Cavs. And right off the bat, Scott, I'm gonna ask you today on the 8th of April, who's winning the Eastern Conference in the playoffs?
Mo, I don't have a Boston T-shirt on like you had yesterday.
See, I'll come
But
neutral today. I'll come neutral because we got to be
yeah,
impartial.
but I just assuming that they stay healthy, and the big when I say that, that's mainly Kristaps Porzingis being healthy for the entire run. Because I'm assuming I know that Tatum and Brown and those guys will be there and be ready. The two guards that bring size and energy, Derek White and
Drew
why
Holiday.
am I Drew Holiday? Drew Holiday, tremendous playoff guards, physical, and then the ageless wonder Al Horford. I think he's going to be excited after watching his old college win the national
Oh
championship
yeah, I see him
yesterday.
on the
He was there
court after the
live.
game
Yeah,
last night.
he was there. He was
He
there
was
live.
he was out he is out on the injury report for the Celtics next game, but he was in San
Exactly.
Antonio. Like, listen, when you're Big Al's age, when you get to that
Yes.
level in your career as a reigning
Mm-hmm.
champ, you can afford to do that. I'm not mad at
Yeah,
that.
and I like how they've been playing down the stretch too. Again,
Mhm.
I can't stress that enough. Teams playing well into the playoffs, so they got through the entire regular season. Again, everybody was shooting at them. Obviously, they were the 5-star matchup every night that they played, and they handled it well this year, I believe. And they didn't get down when they lost, a couple games at home or uh, dropped the game to a team that maybe wasn't, close to their level. They stayed the course. They know the journey. And there's something to be said when you know the journey and done it and you've done it successfully. And so I still favor the Celtics this year. I believe when we talked at the very beginning of the year, I had them picked to come back out of the East. And as great as Cleveland has been, and no disrespect to anybody else in the Eastern Conference, I still favored them this season to get back to the NBA Finals.
One thing that concerned me a little bit with the Celtics is last year, Drew Holiday in particular, talking about him, and we know what he brings on the defensive end. But one huge factor in them winning the championship last year was offensively. He shot damn near 62% from corner threes for the entire
Okay.
season.
Mm-hmm.
Astronomical numbers.
Mm-hmm.
His shooting from the corner was absolutely huge. This season, those numbers have plummeted to kind of average out to the mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the adjustment that he made over the last however many games it was, I think there was a game against Memphis where he went like 4 of 17 because Memphis just wouldn't guard him on the 3 point line. The
Mm-hmm.
adjustment that he's made as a point guard to kind of play as a center with his rolls to the hoop, with his cuts to the hoop, and being in the
Mm-hmm.
dunker spot has been a key to the Celtics' strong close to the finish here. Because him acknowledging, okay, my shot's not falling, what else can I do? And being able to time his cuts at the perfect time has been absolutely amazing for the Celtics. My question is with the Celtics, and the Cavaliers, both of these teams are two teams that heavily rely on three-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be whichever team gets hotter from three at the right time if they meet in the conference finals, right? It's whichever
Yeah.
team just has the momentum and can shoot the lights out is going to win this series. So I couldn't call it either way because they both rely so heavily on their three-point shooting
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
some nights, as you know, in the league, some nights your shots just don't fall. And
No
there's no
question.
explanation for it. The shots just aren't falling. There's a lid on the basket. Whereas some nights you can't miss. So that's possibly the hardest thing to predict in this year's playoffs because of the three-point shooting variance. Who's going to win that series? I couldn't give you an answer.
Really? Well, Mo, what I would say though, and again, I know the Celtics were on record pace for the amount of threes that they shot this regular season. But when you really watch them and how they generate them, so much of them are generated off lane penetration and getting to the rim. And you got two guys, well, really all the guys, but really two guys who are really, really good in the league get to the basket, and Tatum and Brown. And then the two guards, Holiday and White, are capable of getting there as well. So what I see from the Celtics, they're going to be able to get to the line in those days that the three isn't falling. They can manufacture enough twos, in my opinion, on a given night to be successful enough to win. Play great defense and then manufacture enough twos at the rim, getting to the line when they're not falling. But the quality of threes that they get night in, night out, I think it's probably the best in the league because so many of them come. It's not just the first pass on the kick out and the guy shooting, somebody running close now. It's usually kick out, swing, or swing, swing. And so they're passing up good shots to get great looks, and they're open looks so many times. They're not taking a ton of step back threes and just threes that aren't efficient.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like about them and their ability and how they utilize the 3-point
Yeah.
line
And
because it's all about quality of shots.
and the other thing is like Jason Tatum for the last two playoff runs has not been shooting the ball from deep very well. Yeah, every
Mm-hmm.
season he's found a way to improve, especially as a playmaker. And
Mm-hmm.
especially the way he finishes around the bucket as well. So he knows what to do when his shots aren't falling.
Yes.
So if his shot is falling, that's just bonus for the Celtics at this point because they've
Yes.
been through two deep playoff runs and a championship run with his 3-1 not falling. It's going to be interesting because this team
Mm-hmm.
and Cleveland split the season series at 2 games apiece.
Oh yeah,
Both
no,
teams
it'll be
winning one
awesome.
game
Yeah,
on the road in their opponents in their
I'm
opponent's arena.
yeah,
So
I'm not discounting Cleveland at all. If they were to pull the upset in my mind and do it, would I be shocked? No. But again, I'm going with just the playoff pedigree of the entire roster. And obviously they've won a championship as well. But they've been to 2 finals and they've been to the conference finals a number of times. So just the battle tested locker room that the Celtics have, I'm going to favor them in the season until they come up against another team that's maybe been that battle tested. So,
good news for Philly fans. Because they were eliminated from playoff contention, they no longer have to suffer a first or second round exit as they do as a yearly tradition. So, shout out to you Sixer fans out there. Trust the process. Maybe you'll be back next year. Maybe you won't. Who knows? But that's our little preview of the Eastern Conference. Not quite as exciting as the West, but when you look at the matchups, I think the Magic or the Hawks could give the Celtics an interesting series. And then I think the
mhm.
Heat or the Bulls or the Hawks or the Magic could give the Cavs a very interesting series. I think Pistons Knicks would be cinema. I think it would be a very physical,
Oh yeah,
tightly contested series. The
absolutely.
Pacers and the
Yes.
Bucks have a rivalry. The Pacers are the better team, but the Bucks have Giannis, who will be the best player on the court. So I
Hmm.
do think, even though the race to the playoffs isn't as exciting as the West, I do think that every series that we're going to get out of the East is going to be a very, very fun series to watch.
There's no question about it. The thing about the playoffs this year, really on both sides, even though, like I said, it's more compelling on the Western Conference as we look at it right now. But I will not be surprised to see lower seeds beat the higher seeds in the playoffs. In years past, a lot of times you could just really see, okay, the higher seeds are gonna, yeah, they may lose a game or two along the way, but they're on a crash course,
Yeah,
starting the
even
second round.
yeah.
But now to see a 6 seed beat a 3 seed, It won't be shocking on either side, to be
Yeah, it's the
honest with you,
parity
because
era
it's
of
going
the
to be
NBA.
the parody. And that's, to me, as again, now I'm going to put my fan hat on, Mo, as well. Uh, you like when there are multiple teams that have an opportunity to eventually play for a title. And it's not just one team on the West and one team on the East. You know that ultimately they're going to land in the finals. While there's some compelling nature to that once they get there, because they were so excellent in both conferences. Nowadays, now your team, you're sitting at home now. There's 8 different cities probably that's sitting there saying, you know what? We got a chance to make it
Hmm.
to the finals.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of teams, maybe
I think all eight, like I think 7 teams in the West think that they can make it to the finals, and I think
yes.
there are probably five, maybe
I think
six, according to Mr. BJ Armstrong, who said that the Pistons can make the conference finals. But there, let's say
yeah,
4 or 5
but
teams in the East that think they can
you
make it.
for
So you've
yeah,
got more
I
than
think your
10
top 14,
teams.
yeah. I think your top five the Bucks would, especially if they had Dame Lillard,
Yeah.
would think that too. So you got five. So yeah, like you're looking at 10 to 12 teams and saying, hey, look, we play our kind of basketball, we have a chance.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait for it. Do you know what we should do this week, though, Scott? I think
Okay.
you'll like this. I think maybe tomorrow we should go back and look at our predictions from the first week of the season,
Okay.
and we should see how they figured out and what's happened and
Yeah,
what's not happened.
I would love to do that, Mo, because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, other than remembering, I believe that I picked the Celtics to
You
repeat
picked Shea for MVP as well.
and say for MVP. Okay. We're starting out 2-0. I don't remember the rest of the seeding and all like this. So
I do remember an episode where you and BJ did both pick the Sixers to finish quite strong, and I didn't believe in the
oh,
Sixers,
yeah, well, that
and here we are.
yeah, here we are. Exactly.
But stay tuned. We'll get to that tomorrow, and we'll give our awards for this season. MVP, Defense Player of the Year, so on and so forth. So you can have a think about that. Let us know in the Discord who your picks are, and
Mhm.
if you have any surprising picks, maybe we'll react to them on the show. But until then, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get it from. Make sure you're locked in with us because the final week of the regular season rolls on. Then we got the play in, then we got the playoffs, then we got the finals. So don't miss an episode. Scott, appreciate it as always. And until next time, get buckets.